It's July 27th, 2022, 7:02 PM. Call the planning board meeting to order. First is the Pledge of Allegiance.
The United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on our agenda is boundary line adjustment for Ed Flanagan. Do you want to step
Do
up?
the roll call first.
Oh, I
Sorry.
guess we never did that for a long time. Yes, go ahead.
John Krinsky,
Here.
Josh Fisher,
Here.
Kyle McMahon,
Here.
Jason Tyler,
Here.
Howard Schaefer.
Here.
Okay.
Okay. you
Tony,
come up.
Tony Springer, sorry.
Tony's here.
Weren't here when I wrote them down, that's why.
Somebody has Maps. There's only 4 of them, so we'll just.
We'll have to share.
So Mr. Flanagan, you're the one that had that garage on the property and no
Correct.
access to it, right?
Yep. Yeah, we had the survey done, as you can see. Van Duzen did it. They did a pretty good job, I think.
So going through, as far as seeker, it's exempt, correct, Karen?
Correct.
Not there's no APA required.
No, APA has informed me that it's recommended on a boundary line adjustment, but not required.
Okay. Also, public hearing. I don't believe we need a public hearing. Discussion, anybody think we need a public hearing for this? I don't think so.
This is what you reviewed. This is what Mr. Flanagan presented last month, if you remember correctly. And we discussed about, he had these existing lots, the one part that is being put into the other lot is across the road. The county looks at it as a boundary line adjustment because it's part of the other parcel. And we discussed hardship last month, and the board determined that you would let him go forward with it, but he needed to get it surveyed and represent it to the board.
Right. So I make a motion that we don't need a public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. And this is the final plat, correct, Karen?
Correct.
So have everybody seen the map? Basically, you know, what's the garage part is going to be part of the other piece of property on the side of the road. Any discussion or?
And you're going to make improvements to that shed, correct?
I'm sorry.
You're going to be making improvements to that
Yes, I'm
shed?
going to actually move the door to the other side of the property, and I'm going to upgrade the garage so I can use it for a garage, basically.
Any comments by any board members?
This
Sarah?
is
Okay, so
pretty straightforward.
Josh? So I make a recommendation that we approve the final plat.
Second.
Was that Jason?
Josh.
Josh? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed.
That's all that's required.
Okay,
Okay, so your next step is just to bring in the Mylar
Right.
And then I'll get John to come down and sign it and we can take it to the county, and get it recorded after we get the deed
Okay, I
done.
got 2 new deeds made up, correct? Okay. All right. Very good.
Make
Thank
sure
you, Jeff.
they put in the deed, that the purpose of the deed is to combine the, is to do
Well,
that
Van
boundary
Duzen
line
said he would
adjustment.
write up the words or the script that I need for the
Okay.
deed. I'll bring it in and have you take a look.
I
at
don't
it.
need to look at it. It's just the county always says to me, make sure they put that in there, that it's, the purpose is to do a boundary line adjustment. Okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. So next, we have the subdivision pre-approval. Who's representing? Want to come up to the podium, please? There's some maps. Okay.
Now, on this one, we had done it back in August. You had approved this subdivision, but they failed to get it recorded at the county in the allotted amount of time. So they had to come back and you just have to approve, approve it one more time so that the date is within the allowable time that the county allows for it to be recorded. You've already, the board at the time already reviewed it. We do have a couple new members. If you have any questions, look at it and you can ask him questions, but basically it was just, he has a large lot there and he was trying to divide out the house and the barn, I believe, from the balance of the property.
Was there any APA? I noticed that.
I have in the file, since they approved it, I did get a letter from APA. It was non-jurisdictional.
Okay.
And did I write that on here? Yes, September 17th, I received a non-jurisdictional letter from APA. So we've done, you've gone over the seeker. There was no significant adverse environmental impact. You accepted the preliminary plat. I do have the APA jurisdictional inquiry. You did not call for a public hearing. And you had granted it the approval as long as APA approval was given. And so I got the non-jurisdictional letter that covers that.
So now that if we approve this, you are going to go forward and finish what didn't get finished.
That is his intent.
Okay. How long does this pre-approval last, Karen?
Well, I would have to go through my book, but I think 180 days, and then you can extend it for another 90 days and then another 90 days beyond that, but it's a total of 6 months and that's already passed. So, well, no, it's 180 days total and that's already passed. So it's easier just to reapprove it. The county won't take it unless it's within a certain period of time. And I think it's 3 months, something like that. So
Okay. So does anybody have any questions?
I don't remember if we discussed it, but is there road access to lot 1? How do they get to lot 1?
Is this the whole thing lot 1? I think this whole thing is lot 1.
Right.
I think this
Oh, it
whole
comes all
thing
the way
is
to
lot 1,
99.
and
Oh,
then
okay.
this whole thing is lot 2.
Gotcha.
Comes all the way out to the road, road here and down here.
Oh, I was, okay. I
Pretty
thought
good
the fence was a
Good
line.
access.
Gotcha.
It's really this,
It's kind of like a,
this whole line he really has access to, even though this is undeveloped.
oh,
This is, and this is.
Gotcha.
Do you have any idea if they're going to develop this at all after, at the further?
I don't. I don't know what his plans are,
Okay,
other than he said he needed this taken care of and asked me to do it personally. So I told him I would be here personally.
okay.
They have straight access to lot 2, so there's no issue.
I think originally years ago, there was something in process to actually
It is kind of cleared, isn't it? I think the lot two is kind of cleared.
I think originally they were gonna whole development with, yeah.
I want to look at the original map that. they gave us.
This was the property that was given to the donated to the
Right.
cemetery.
Karen, do you have any concerns?
That we should
I did
consider?
not have any concerns. However, you brought up the issue of the road, and it's all behind these properties that line 9N. However, there is that paper street, which they've labeled Second Street in there. That is a little strip of land that is owned by the town. It's called a paper street. And years ago, they had done a proposal to subdivide this differently. And they were using that and the American Legion, the road by the American Legion Drive as a-
Third Street is the open access right now. That's the way that they would intend to access the lot. That's
first.
the one right by the American Legion.
Okay, right over, I see it now,
The
yes.
Second Street is, like you say, just a paper
Paper
street. It's
street.
undeveloped at this point. So is this.
The one that
all
runs,
along the back. all the
yeah.
way. Yeah.
I
Right now
saw
it's all
from,
Full of leaves and.
yeah, I saw from the record from the old one that they had proposed to the town doing something with that. But you're right, it is that third street, which is right next to where the Wesleyan
And
Church.
that's a nice
is.
full with that access.
Yeah. I just wanted to double check.
Can I just ask a question? What exactly does the term paper street mean?
Paper street means that it's land. It's not a paved road. It's not a used road. It's a road that was developed probably in the past. It has many terms. It was probably used in the past as a fire access road.
Mhm.
And it has never been maintained by the town. And a lot of times it's owned by the town, but it's not developed as a road. So
I
they
see.
call it a paper street because it's a street on map only. It's not an actual street physically out there maintained.
I see.
So the original development here, that was all developed at one time, all of these lots and these streets were a part of that plan at that time. So the streets were all dedicated to the town. So the town has title to this, but they've never opened the road physically. So that's to have title to property and not open it is what they call paper street. So
Right.
I
the
see.
street exists in theory in title, but it's not been opened.
Thank
We
you.
have a lot of them throughout the town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Glens Falls is a problem. They're here in the- Get to be difficult issue because people always encroach on it. Brush, leaves, fence, shed. So when people finally do decide to open it, they have a hell of a time.
Mm.
They cannot.
I see.
That's why I try to avoid that, so they won't, modernly, they won't allow paper streets, they'll either develop it or they don't want it to exist. 'Cause
Right.
They don't want to have title to land.
Mhm.
For that reason, they want people making adverse claims to.
Mhm.
So just
Those are right now. All right on down through there.
just for the record, I just need your name and that you're representing Guido.
My name is Russell Howard. I'm a land surveyor. I'm the author of the survey here. It's asked. For them.
Okay, I just, for the record, I just needed that. Thanks. Anybody else have any questions? I don't think. Was here or Jason?
I understand.
Oh, you were here too? Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, no, sorry, I was not here.
So if there's no questions, I make a motion that we reapprove this 2-lot subdivision.
I'll second that.
Who was the second?
I,
Jason? All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
so we're good.
he's just gonna want you to sign that Mylar.
Okay.
Shall I leave it with you, or is that something you do right now?
What do you want to do? You're gonna need to get me a check. If you don't mind waiting, we don't have a lot left to do,
I can sign it afterwards.
and he can
We're
sign it
done.
after the meeting.
Fine, sure.
Okay, it won't take us long. We just have business to take care of.
Sure. Hot seat here. Outside look at the cars for a minute.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, next we got approval of the minutes from June 22nd. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to look them over. Very thorough. Thank you, Karen. Bad thing is once somebody takes over from you, we're going to expect this all the
Well,
time.
we'll see what happens. We will see. Anyone want to make a motion?
Make a motion to accept the June meetings minutes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, also in your packet, you will see that I gave you the paperwork that I submitted to the town board Monday night at the workshop meeting they had on short-term rentals. This is not a complete minutes, but I didn't have time to finish the minutes. So this is what I gave to them, and I wanted you to have that in your file as to what was given to them as your recommendations. They are going to take them and digest them and put them into whatever they choose, because they got recommendations from the zoning board as well. The zoning board, for those of you that weren't here earlier for the discussion, basically recommended that they thought the county should make a county-wide ordinance on short-term rentals, and they shouldn't be done individually at the towns. So that was kind of their major recommendation, but other than that, it was, they used the Warrensburg one as their model. And so they made recommendations based on that, but it was, pretty much in line with what you had recommended. Can you think of any other differences, John?
Differences, no, I think, they had other ideas, which we didn't go, but they went into the financial as far as penalties, which we didn't want to get into.
Mhm. Yeah, they
And-
did discuss the penalty.
Which I think that should be the board anyway. I don't really think.
They felt that the $200 fine or $250 fine that someone had in theirs was too little when the short-term rental people are getting anywhere from 200 and something dollars a night up to over 400, according to what we heard from the public. We had a lot of public here for our meeting, but not so much for the zoning one. So,
And there were some people there at the town board. I think some of them were at ours.
the same
I'm sure,
ones,
yeah, same ones. Although I think there was a new guy there that I didn't recognize, but at any rate.
Oh, the other, since we met, did I report that I had talked to the county treasurer at our workshop meeting?
Not at ours, no.
Okay, after that meeting, I did call the county treasurer, Mike Swan, and I talked to him and asked him when they had done their research, had they looked at all, all of the Airbnb and Verbo and all of the sites. He said no, that the company they hired only looked at the major ones, and that there were more sites popping up all the time. And because when we had the zoning board meeting, there were members of the board that reported that, oh, I have 4 within my house. I've got like 6 on my street, and they weren't listed on that list that I gave you. So I was questioning Mike Swan as to how thorough was their list. I also asked him, were they maintaining it? And he said they had a contract with the company through September of this year, and they were hoping to extend it for another year beyond that. And then he told me that if the county gets a call from someone reporting that there's a short-term rental, like a neighbor or something, what they're doing is the county sends out a letter to that homeowner. If they get no response, they send a second letter to that person. And if they get no response from that, they turn it over to the county attorney, and they follow up on it to see if they're actually running a short-term rental out of the home, because the county wants the occupancy tax. And so I found out that much anyway from them. And I talked again to Tom McKinney of the Warren County Building Codes Office about the inspections. And he corrected me on something that is kind of important. I had been saying it was a life safety inspection that they did. It is not. It's a property maintenance inspection that they do. And the reason you have to distinguish that is life safety brings it into the commercial code of New York State. There's residential code, and then there's commercial codes. And that would bring it into the commercial code, and they consider the short-term rentals residential, either a single-family home, 2-family home, or whatever it is. It's still considered residential, which brings it back to that property maintenance code rather than a life safety inspection. The other thing is he told me that fire extinguishers are not required in single-family homes. Smoke detectors, CO detectors, yes, but fire extinguishers are not required in a single-family home, so that if the board wanted to make that part of their recommendations, that these places have a fire extinguisher, that they should make it part of the regulation, because it's not going to be looked at by the county if we bring them in to do the inspection. Now, Bolton is doing their own inspection. They're not having the county do it. But for purposes here, the recommendation was to let Warren County Building Codes do that property maintenance inspection as part of the permitting process. It's not the complete process. It's just part of their permitting process. So I thought I'd fill you in on those couple of things. Oh, and at the short-term rental workshop that we had, they did ask the county attorney towards the end of it to take Mr. Berdanko's letter that I had provided to you and look into the legality of whether they're considered hotel motel businesses to be in the Hamlet residential areas. So they asked him to look at that. So we'll see where that goes.
Right. I think part of that was, well, it's Warren County. I think they have, it's in order to collect taxes. That's all they care about, but according to the assessor, she said that it's still a single family residence.
Right. The assessor looks at them as single family dwellings for the most part, unless it is a 2-family dwelling or whatever, and that's the way, if someone were to come in and build one, that's what I would be looking at it as, a single family dwelling. And and they are allowed in Hamlet residential area. So I don't know if they're going to be able to find a correlation between short-term rentals being called businesses and hotel motels or not.
Well, if it's owned by an LLC, wouldn't that be considered?
No, because some people put their properties in LLCs now if there's more than one owner. Or if they've, like put it in all of their kids' names or whatever, they put it under an LLC. And the short-term rental people at the last workshop that we had Monday night that were here in the audience said that by law, they have to put them under an LLC for tax reasons, for income tax reasons. They have to be listed as a business LLC for tax reasons, which is why a lot of them are listed that way.
For protection.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like from reading the other towns' regulations that any of the other towns had tried to create zones that they weren't allowed.
The only one that I'm aware of that talked about it, and I don't know if they ended up doing it, was Lake George Village, because they were losing their residence base, because they're so commercial anyway, that they were losing their residence base, and so they were trying, and from talking to Tom McKinney, who works for the county building codes office, but lives in Lake George, he was telling me that the other day that they are not allowed in a corridor down the village, somewhere back one or two streets. And if it's attached by an alley to the main street, then you can't use that property either. They do have something in the village to regulate them there. It's the only place I know of. I know Queensberry was looking at making more regulations about the number of days they could be used and the length of stay and that kind of thing, but as far as actually banning them, I think the only place that has limited where they can be is the village of Lake George.
No, I don't know if you know this, but they have to, when they register for Warren County and they collect taxes, does that go to the town of Lake Luzerne? Or is it all bunched into Warren County and we just get a share?
I think we just get a share. I would have to
Okay.
ask Jean that. I'm not sure that we get the actual amount that comes from just Luzerne.
But obviously, the more that are registered, the more
Right.
that,
Well, you could
yeah.
see from the paperwork that I've given you before that the amount has certainly increased. And
Right.
even if we're getting a percentage of that, it's increasing our tax base, our income from taxes at the town.
didn't I know there was a difference, which I kind of disagreed with. The zoning board wanted to do it yearly, update it instead of every 3 years.
Mhm.
Everybody's doing it every 3 years. And I said, well, that's kind of gonna put a lot of work on the CEO.
Yeah,
So, and I think the town board kind of agreed, every year, all these people are gonna have to go through the whole process and reapply
right.
instead of every 3 years. But that was one of the difference between the zoning
Yeah,
board
you're
and
right.
us.
I'd
And
forgotten that
grandfather,
part.
you said grandfather.
Yeah, and the grandfather, they wanted to, no grandfathering at all. In other words, when the law hit, you have to be in compliance, which, if you're already doing it, is it fair to tell those people, well, let's say it's the middle of July and they're booked, that they can't do it anymore? Well, we thought,
You gotta give them a
we
grace
called it
period at
grandfather,
least.
but they called it, we called it a grace period. Maybe 90 days, so it won't take much to be in compliance,
Right. Yeah,
rather
makes
than
sense.
just slam them down, so.
Are there towns that are issuing their own tax on the Airbnbs?
Not that I am aware of.
Permit
I mean,
fees, yes.
Permit fees,
It
yes.
seems
but not
popular,
tax.
like when I've traveled down south and different places. I mean, there's a local, I forget what they call it, but it's a tourism tax almost or something. It's just a local tax that's paid to the town for
Not that I'm aware of.
nothing locally up there.
But several of the people that spoke were on the list. Who
I
said
know.
they had them. There
That was a
lot
very
of them.
smart one.
I know. We're looking on the list and we're like, you're not even listed.
Some of the people that were.
Well, they asked them at the
Exactly.
meeting, the
John and I
people
were
that were
going
at the
down there.
meeting, the people that were at the meeting Monday night, they asked them. So they're not, and the one couple said, no, they were not.
Right.
Now, Diane Powers, who was on our PowerPoint, she said, yes, she was.
Well, that one
she
customer that
was
said they
not.
weren't, said they were kind of like putting money in escrow. So when they got registered, they could
Right.
pay the county, but hopefully. Okay, any old new business? I only have one thing. I know for a fact next month, 2 people won't be at the meeting. I just want everybody to be honest. Are you going to be able to attend next month's meeting? I hate to see not have enough quorum, you know. I mean, lately, all of a sudden, we don't know until the night before. Or sometimes people just don't show up.
The date is the 24th right
right.
now that it's scheduled for in August.
Wednesday, the 24th.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, as long as nobody has a problem, I'm not going to be here. And I would like to recommend Josh to be the chairman.
That's fine.
Perfect.
If Tony wants to do it.
No, Josh is
Josh said
fine.
yes.
Josh is fine. He said yes
Do we
already.
have to make a motion for that, Karen?
No, you just have to agree on it.
Okay.
Depends what's on the agenda.
Well, I know we have a boundary line adjustment.
It's boundary line adjustment. That for now. No promises after that. I think I've changed you and Kyle. You guys have been in the longest. I'm not sure.
Sure. Easy, yeah, Kyle's been.
So, okay, that's all I have. Anybody else have any old or new business? Tony,
Nope.
I'm good.
all right. Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.